Hello there, Stevos, and welcome to Steve's Movie Wrap-Up. Now, before I do go into this episode, firstly I want to say that my last video that came out on my YouTube channel, which was my weekly vlog, that was the last weekly vlog that I'm going to do for 2023. So first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of my subscribers out there who throughout 2023 have watched my YouTube videos, whether it's weekly vlogs, TV wrap-ups or movie wrap-ups, and have subscribed to my YouTube channel and stuff. It really does mean a lot, your support. And also a massive thank you to my subscribers out there for leaving comments in the comments section down below as well, and liking my videos. Again, it does mean a lot to me that you guys out there do support my YouTube channel as and when I do upload new content. Now, very quickly, I do want to say that over the course of the next couple of weeks, obviously this video that you're watching right now on the 24th of November 2023 is of course my movie wrap-up video, which I'll get into in a few moments. But just very quickly though, I do want to just dive in and reveal some other bits and pieces that are coming up. So on Monday next week, I'm going to be doing a TV wrap-up review of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary episode titled The Star Beast. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on that episode on Monday at 4 PM UK time. So that'll be coming up on the 27th of November. On the 1st of December, I am then going to be doing another movie wrap-up episode for you guys as well. And then, of course, on the 4th of December, I'm going to be doing a TV wrap-up video where I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on the Disney Plus original series Culprits. 6th of December will be my TV wrap-up episode where I'm talking about Gen V. And then on the 8th of December, I'm going to be talking about the Doctor Who episode titled Wild Blue Yonder. Actually, no, that's going to be on the 6th, on the 4th of December, and then obviously we'll do Culprits on the 6th, and then 8th of December we'll do the Gen V review, and then on the 10th of December I've then got my movie wrap-up episode for that week, and then finally, just very quickly, 11th of December, I'm going to do another TV wrap-up episode, which will be the last Doctor Who 60th anniversary episode titled The Giggle. I'll talk about that. And then from the 13th of December all the way up until Christmas Eve, I'm going to be doing my 12 days of Vlogmas videos. Now, I will say this, on the 12th of December, I will talk a bit more extensively, shall we say, about 12 days of Vlogmas, because I do want you guys to get an idea as to what's coming up in those episodes. Of course I do, and what I've got planned. So I will talk about that on the 12th of December, 4 PM UK time, on my YouTube channel, SteveOfficial. So that's a little bit of an idea, okay? I'm only going to go up until Christmas Eve for my YouTube schedule, okay, for the time being. But like I say, I'm really looking forward to doing 12 days of Vlogmas. Really looking forward to continuing doing more content in terms of movie wrap-ups and TV wrap-up episodes over the course of the next couple of weeks. I will say one final thing though before we do get into this video, and that is that Steve's weekly vlogs will be back in January 2024. And I'm very excited because I'm starting to kind of map out some of the things that I'm going to do, some of the things I've got lined up for 2024. And it's safe to say there is going to be some fantastic content on the way, especially at the beginning of next year. Anyway, with that said and done, it's time for me to get into this video, and it's time for me to go through some of the movies that I've watched this past week and rewatched. So starting off this week's episode of Movie Wrap Up, and we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Now, this is a movie that I watched earlier this summer, and it's a movie that I have brought on Amazon Prime Video to buy and keep. Now, this I gave a 4-star rating over on Letterboxd. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is likely to be up there as one of the best animated movies that 2023 has brought to us, alongside Across the Spider-Verse. I saw this the first time around in cinemas, and now I've watched this at home on my own on a 4K TV after recently purchasing it on Amazon Prime in recent months. I really love this movie a lot, especially after the second rewatch, particularly as I can appreciate the animation a lot more seeing it on a slightly smaller screen. And you also have a star-studded voice cast in this movie as well, with the likes of Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen voicing some of the animated characters that this movie has to offer us. If you are yet to see this movie, I definitely recommend it, because this one is a great animated movie that I recommend people to watch. Not only that, but I also find that it's a fun, family-friendly movie to watch as well. And there is a TV series based on the movie in the works, and there's also a sequel on this movie that's also in the works as well. The next movie I watched this week was Joyride on Amazon Prime Video, which I bought to buy and keep, and I gave this movie a 4-star rating over on Letterboxd. 4.5 star rating over on Letterboxd. So 2023 has given me so many comedies that are out there. I think it's hard to say which comedy movie is my best of 2023. No Hard Feelings, another comedy movie, and Joyride are probably two of my favourite comedy movies of the year. And the reason why I love Joyride so much is because, yes, the humour is crude, and some people might be into crude humour while others won't be, but I also love the fact that at times the movie can be quite a heartfelt movie. I also love the character development that we have with the characters that we follow throughout this movie. I also must say that Ashley Park, who is best known for starring in Netflix original series Emily in Paris, is a standout in this movie for me. Now, the next movie that I have watched this week over on Amazon Prime Video as part of my purchases is a movie called Woody Woodpecker, which I gave a 1-star rating to over on Letterboxd. Anyone seen the original animated show? If you have, then for your benefit, it's probably best if you don't watch this movie. Otherwise, you're going to get your childhood ruined. And I don't mean this in a horror movie of a beloved childhood character that ends up going on a killing spree. Woody the Woodpecker isn't Winnie the Pooh, or Peter Pan, or Bambi for that matter. But this movie tried, and I mean tried, to be a comedic, family-friendly movie. It's a family-friendly movie that I have seen once or twice before, and for some nostalgic reason, there is a little part of me inside that wants to say that I do love this movie, but there's probably 97% of me that says I don't like this movie. And for goodness sake, can someone please answer this question for me? Why did I buy and keep this movie on Prime Video? Probably because it was cheap. Probably for somewhat nostalgic reasons. Probably so I can say, hey guys, guess what? If you want nostalgia, then I have nostalgia for you. I own this Woody Woodpecker movie that we should all watch for nostalgic reasons, only for the people to turn around and say, hey Steve, this movie absolutely sucks, and I'll say, you're completely correct. Anyways, this film isn't the best family-friendly movie that I have seen, and like I say, I probably got this for a cheap price, and there was probably a part of me that loved this movie when it came out several years ago. it probably didn't get marketed that well because even the creators had no faith in this movie doing well. And also should point out that there's probably a lot of people that don't know this movie exists unless they search Woody the Woodpecker online or see this review. Also, I thought one of the main actors in this was Hugh Jackman. I can confirm it's not, but weirdly, the dad sort of reminds me of Hugh Jackman. Was that just done by coincidence? Did the creators want to find a Hugh Jackman-like father figure to cast in this movie? Was that intentional? I should also point out in this review that I watched this on my 4K TV and even at times watching this on Prime Video on my TV. Even the Wi-Fi didn't like the fact I was watching this movie. There were moments where the movie became quite fuzzy and very low quality as well. If my Wi-Fi is doing that to a movie, then I'm watching on my TV, then I know that I'm watching a terrible movie. Oh, and the voice of Woody the Woodpecker? Well, that was annoying, and it was something that I had to deal with for the 90-minute running time. Yeah, honestly, honestly, if the original animation still exists somewhere out there in the universe, stick to watching those, because this movie sucks, and it's a shame that I now have to that I now have to admit that I own this movie. On the plus side, at least I got it for a really cheap price a couple of months ago. Maybe that was also a sign to say don't buy this movie, especially if it was going for such a cheap price on Amazon Prime. The next movie I watched this week was Pokemon Detective Pikachu, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. This is the second time since the movie release that I have watched this. Detective Pikachu is such a great family-friendly movie that I remember enjoying watching in the cinema, and while I don't really have much knowledge of Pokemon, my nephews are more than likely to have more knowledge on Pokemon than I do, especially now they play with the trading cards. But I still love this movie as it does have some heartfelt moments in this, especially the ending, which I won't spoil for those who are yet to see this one. But for those who have watched this though, you know what I'm talking about. The movie itself has a packed cast including Ryan Reynolds, who voices Pikachu throughout the movie. You also have the likes of Karen Sony, Bill Nighy, Justice Smith and Catherine Newton, who all star in this movie as well. There are loads of Pokemon characters as well, which Pokemon fans will know and love, who make an appearance throughout the movie. I think aside from Pikachu, my favourite one that I have seen in this movie is probably the miming Pokemon. I don't know his name, okay? So if you're wondering what name he is, I have no idea, okay? Maybe I should have done my research before, I don't know, reviewing this film. But I thought he was rather funny to see and watch on screen. Now, the next movie that I have seen this week is the Angry Birds movie, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. I remember the very first time I watched this movie, I was actually feeling rather unwell at the time. But I watched this movie the first time around and thought, hey, this is a nice family-friendly movie. Of course, if you know Angry Birds and you know that they made this movie based off the worldwide famous app, the app that at one point we have all been known to be addicted to on our smartphones and tablets, but still though, this is a decent movie which I really do love a lot. I think this is probably my 3rd time watching this, and fun fact actually, I have recently purchased this movie to buy and keep on Prime Video in recent months, but when I first watched it, I had bought it on DVD, and it was actually one of my last DVDs that I have actually bought before the whole streaming thing came into play for me. It's got some great voice casts in this movie, a lot of recognisable names who lend their voice for this movie, and it's one that I think if you haven't seen yet, then one that that you should check out with all the family. I enjoyed this one a lot. The next movie that I have seen this week, understandably, after watching Angry Birds movie, is watch the sequel, which is Angry Birds Movie 2, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. The Angry Birds Movie 2, I remember seeing this one when it came out in cinemas after enjoying seeing the first one, and yes, while I will admit it does have some comedy elements in here, which I do love and I do find at times funny, but this film does feel slightly more different than the first one. I know that this is the sequel, and I know I've knocked off half a star, but let's look at the original. For me, the original felt like a film that all the family can enjoy. Meanwhile, the sequel kind of felt as though they toned it down so it was more for preschoolers to enjoy more than the average kid or average adult to enjoy. That's not to say that I do enjoy this movie still, because as I say, there are moments in here where I do find certain scenes funny, but for me though, it just felt like they went down the direction of toning down the audience to just preschoolers to enjoy this movie rather than the whole family. I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but that is just my feeling and an opinion about this movie. Okay, the next movie that I have seen this week is The Secret Life of Pets, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. So I should really give this movie the 5-star treatment because it opens with the song Welcome to New York by Taylor Swift at the beginning of the movie. And that alone just deserves the movie to be given 5 stars. But as I'm a fair and honest movie critic, here, I'll give the movie the rating I think it deserves, which is 3 stars. A great family-friendly movie done by the same people behind some of the other animations that families will know and love, like Despicable Me, Minions, and even the recently released Super Mario Bros. Movie. The Secret Life of Pets is a movie about pets and what they get up to when their owners are away. That reminds me, I should now install cameras around my house and check the footage on my smartphone while I'm hanging out with friends or at work to see what the animals in my house get up to. Maybe my cat might start raiding the fridge. Maybe my dog might start going on wonderful adventures that I don't know about. Maybe my fish in the fish tank are secret agents, and again, maybe I don't know about it. Anyways, a really great family-friendly movie that I do enjoy watching, and it's a great short movie for kids to enjoy as well, with the film just being a little under the 90-minute mark as well, so at least they'll enjoy it as well. The same with what I did with Angry Birds. I watched Secret Life of Pets, then I watched Secret Life of Pets 2, because that's what you do. Again, same score as I gave the first movie, 3 stars over on Letterboxd. So, want to know what I love the most about The Secret Life of Pets 2? Is the fact that they have 3 individual stories throughout the entire film, and then they all collide into the final act and tie up nicely at the very end, which I think is really nice. I remember seeing this movie in the cinema a few years ago, and I remember coming out after watching it and thinking to myself, you know what? I probably have my new favourite family-friendly comfort movie to watch. We all have those favourite family-friendly movies that we watch on repeat. Well, for me, Secret Life of Pets 2 is one of them. And there's a load more, by the way, particularly Disney, but there's loads more family-friendly comfort movies that I love to watch on repeat, and some of them, by the way, I have reviewed in recent weeks as well, so there we go. But anyway, you've got the talented voice cast who return from the first movie to voice their respective roles in this, and at the same time they introduce some new characters into this as well, which again brings in some famous faces to lend their voices in this animated family-friendly movie. I really do enjoy this one a lot, and it's hard for me to say that I enjoyed this one more than the original, because the original I did find to be funny, And this one, although I didn't find this as funny, but I enjoy it for the plot lines which end up coming together at the end of the movie. Okay, next movie I have watched this week is Pet Sematary, which I gave 2.5 stars over on Letterboxd. So the only actor that I do really recognise in this movie is Jason Clarke, and that's about it. I don't think I've ever seen any of the other actors or actresses in any other projects previous to this film, and I don't think I've seen them in anything after this film was released neither. But Pet Sematary 2019 is of course based on the Stephen King novel and is also a retelling of a Pet Sematary movie that was originally released years before this one was made. I will say that while the characters are played out rather well from their respective actors and actresses in this film, and there are some really gory moments in this film, particularly this one scene where the father is trying to save this young dude's life and he ends up dying on the hospital bed. And then after that, he very briefly comes back to life, but of course it's all in the father's mind. I did think that scene was quite effective and gory as well. I have seen this movie a few times, but I do remember watching this one in the cinema when it first got released in 2019. Anyways, what I will say is that I do prefer this Pet Sematary to the one we got earlier in 2023, which is titled Pet Sematary Bloodlines, which I believe is a prequel story out of them, but two. I definitely prefer this one to that prequel movie. And the next movie I have seen this week is Looney Tunes Back in Action, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. So Looney Tunes Back in Action is a rather fun, family-friendly movie that I used to watch countless times on repeat as a child, and I still do to this day. Love it a lot. You have Brendan Fraser, who stars in this movie. You have Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck in this movie. Shaggy and Scooby from the animated Scooby-Doo make an appearance, eating lunch in the Warner Brothers cafeteria with Matthew Lillard, who of course played Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. And I believe the characters were conversing with him about being the role of Shaggy, which at the same time was great, because around the time this movie was released, so was the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. Oh, and I should also add that if you look rather closely, Doctor Who fans out there, you'll see that even the Daleks make an appearance. Who knew that this technically set up the revival for that TV show 2 years later? Anyways, I really do enjoy this movie a lot. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I know we've had other Looney Tunes movies in the past with Space Jam and Space Jam Legacy. And I know next year in 2024 we will be getting another Looney Tunes movie, which I will happily watch and review as well. But out of all the Looney Tunes movies, this one is my favourite of them all so far. And actually, can I say, whilst on the subject of Looney Tunes, I know that Coyote vs. Acme was recently canned by Warner Brothers, which then sparked outrage from fans on social media as well as with creators and business associates at Warner, to the point where they were getting meetings cancelled on them. They then decided to do a U-turn and have now decided to sell the movie on to other distributors, including streaming services like Netflix and Prime Video. So that's another Looney Tunes movie that I am most certainly looking forward to watching, which I believe is coming out in 2024. So we may have 2 Looney Tunes movies to look forward to next year. And I should also say that the plot to Coyote vs. Acme is so funny and quite comedic as well. So if you want to know what the plot is, just search for Coyote vs. Acme, either on Letterboxd or via Google. You'll see the plot line. It sounds brilliant, and it sounds quite funny to kind of imagine seeing on the big screen. Okay, next movie I have watched this week is The Collector, which I gave 3.5 stars over on Letterboxd. So I have no idea now how many times I've actually seen this movie. It's probably my third or fourth time watching this, and yet it still never gets old. It kind of reminds me of Saw, and actually I believe it was also made by the same people who gave us the Saw franchise as well. Hence why there is so much torture porn throughout the movie that we see the victims go through. I really do love this movie a lot, and I'm glad that it did get a sequel out of it. I never knew that this film existed until about a year ago when my friends showed me this movie, and I loved it so much. It was a movie that I can confirm, by the way, that I have purchased in recent months on Prime Video to buy and keep, because I do love watching this one a lot. Next movie I've watched this week, understandably, is the sequel, which was The Collection. So you have The Collector, then The Collection, which I gave 3 stars over on Letterboxd. So another solid movie. The greatest scene for me in the movie is where all those people are in the nightclub and they have this thing that comes down on them and basically slices them all to death. I do believe that the ending of this movie is supposed to follow up with a third movie, which I believe was in development. I'm not sure whether that third movie is still in development or no longer in development, though, because I think this movie does deserve a third one so that it can become at least a trilogy and at least bring the story to some sort of closure. I think the characters are great in this movie and likeable as well. I do love the gore in this as well. A decent sequel and a decent follow-up to the original movie as well. Given the fact that the first one, I believe, came out in 2009. This came out in 2012. We're now in 2023, going into 2024. You know, it's been 11, 12 years since The Collection came out. So it does make me believe that maybe it was in development, a third movie, and it's been canned because I think we would have got it by now. Next movie I have watched this week is Joker, which I gave 4 stars over on Letterboxd. So what I love most about Joaquin Phoenix is the fact that we see him slowly become more and more crazy as the Joker. And I love the fact that this film heavily features the themes around mental health and the effect it can have on some people. I think it tells it in a very narrative yet very sensitive way as well. I absolutely love Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker a lot, and I love the fact that we see this really fantastic character study and character development of the Joker as well. I will be honest here, I think my all-time favourite Joker has got to be Heath Ledger from the Dark Knight movie, because his performance was absolutely superb in that movie, and he was a terrifying Joker villain in that Batman universe. But I do also love the fact that in this movie, it's a rather slow burn thriller / drama. We don't really see a lot of action until at least towards the end of the film. I'd probably say the last 20 minutes of the movie is where the action mostly is. I know that in 2024 they are doing a sequel to this Joker movie. Joaquin Phoenix will be back in the role as the Joker once again, and Lady Gaga will feature in the movie as Harley Quinn. And I have heard that they are turning the sequel into a more musical themed sequel, which I'm not really sure how to feel about it. One thing is for certain though, and that is the fact that I will definitely give the sequel a shot. I will give it a chance and talk about it in a review in 2024. Now, this movie earlier this year got the 5-star treatment from me when I first watched it in cinemas back in the summer. It's still no different. My rating hasn't changed for this movie. It's Barbie. I gave this movie 5 stars over on Letterboxd. Now, how was the first time I watched this in the cinema back in July, and that was the only time that I have watched this movie. This is the second time that I have watched this, and once again, watching it for the second time and watching it alone at home on my 4K TV, I still very much enjoyed as much as I did the first time I watched it with a friend and a load of other people who went and watched it on opening day at the cinema. This is by far one of my favourite movies to come out of 2023, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm also not ashamed to admit that back in September, when this movie was released on digital on Prime, I bought it to buy and keep. Again, I'm not ashamed to admit that. I'm not ashamed to admit that neither. So there are people out there who say that this film is anti-men. Yeah, they say it's anti-men. But can you please point me in the right direction to the scene in this movie where it proves this movie is anti-men? Because for me, it isn't. And this is a man's point of view. It doesn't just deal with the theme of feminism, but I also feel like this also handles the theme around patriarchy rather well too. Ryan Gosling is fantastic in the role of Ken, and Margot Robbie is brilliant in the role of Barbie as well. The other supporting cast members, who are really well known by the way, also play their roles of Barbies and Kens respectively really well too. The soundtrack is brilliant, the pacing for this movie is rather good, and at times it can be quite dark. I think I pointed this out the last time I reviewed this movie, but not only does it deal with the history of Barbie, the rich history of Barbie that is, but it also deals with life and death as well, and again I think those subjects are handled rather well too. I just can't believe that at the time of reviewing this, we are in the middle of November 2023, and not once since I bought it in September have I watched this back again until now. But I am so glad that I have watched it again, because I was able to enjoy this one all over again. And now that I've got to buy and keep it, I can enjoy it as many times as I want, whenever I like. And finally, the final movie that I have seen this week is Fast X, which I gave 4.5 stars over on Letterboxd. So the only Fast and Furious movie I have brought to buy and keep on Prime. And the reason? Because when I watched this movie in the cinema, I really enjoyed it. And did I really need to watch the first 9 movies to understand what's going on in this movie? Well, even though I did when I first saw this movie in cinemas, but watching it now, aside from all the characters that get introduced and developed in the first 9 movies, I think it's safe to say that you can go into this movie without having any knowledge of what happened in the first 9 movies. I will say that I enjoy the fact that Jason Momoa's villain is developed at the beginning of the film, so we understand what his character's motives are and why he has it in for Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel. I really do enjoy this movie. It's really wild, it's really wacky, it's got some incredible stunts that I don't think I've ever seen done in other action movies previous to this, and scenes done in a car which you would never see happen in real life. I can't wait to see what part 2 has to offer when that movie does eventually get released, which at the time of reviewing, I believe it will be released in 2025. And that's about it for this week's episode of Steve's Movie Wrap Up. I will be back with your next YouTube video again on Monday the 27th of November 2023 at 4 PM UK time, when I do a TV wrap up episode where I'll be talking about my thoughts on the Doctor Who 60th anniversary episode titled The Star Beast. But if you've enjoyed this video though, feel free to give it a like, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. What movies have you been watching this past week? What movies have you been enjoying, disliking? Feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. And if you are new around here, you like what you see, you like the content I'm providing, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Stevo. I'll be back on Monday, 27th of November, with your next YouTube video at 4 PM UK time. But until then though, it's goodbye, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next YouTube video.